Hey everyone, I'm Coach Chippys and I've been a professional top laner or head coach for the past 8 years. During this time I've reached Worlds and MSI multiple times. Now I'm a full-time coach with a ton of passion towards helping players unlock their potential and climb to their dream rank. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be starting a bit of a new series where I'm going to be covering exactly why NA and EU are doing so poorly against the Asian teams at Worlds. And we're going to be covering each topic one by one, but I'm going to be starting off with team fighting. And for our first game, we're going to be covering T1 versus Team Liquid, and we're going to be breaking down exactly the difference between these two teams in terms of pure team fighting knowledge. Now, throughout the course of this game, Team Liquid have many successful plays off the back of mainly Pyosig, and they should have been able to capitalize this into a pretty big lead. But the problem lies in the way they play out team fighting and skirmishing in general, and we'll go over that now, where in our first example, Faker actually overextends trying to get side lane pressure, and Pyosig was there to punish, they're able to catch him out, and now they think, okay, we've caught out their mid laner, we want to be using this kill to secure Baron. Now, Baron is possible in this situation, but the problem is how they play it out. Where with their team comp, they are outranged. The enemy team comp, they have Jace, they have Ashe ulti, they have longer range than the opponent, and it's pretty hard to dive onto them, because they have Renata as well to counter that, where with poke comps, normally you want some sort of disengage in your team comp, where Renata's going to provide just that, and here they start the Baron. Now, I'll go back a bit, we missed it. The first thing you need to notice is that before a team fight is about to break out, where of course they're going to contest the Baron here, before a team fight breaks out, you need to be very clear of your role in the fight. Now, Summit, unfortunately, really doesn't understand his role in this team fight. Where, to give him some slack, Cassante is one of the hardest champs to understand your role in, because he just does so much. You can engage on him, you can peel, he just does a lot, you can even flank in some situations, so it's hard to truly understand at all situations what your job should be, but in this case where their intention is to get the Baron and fight them if they come in. So how they should play this out is that Rel should be in position to engage on them if they come into this Baron, and Cassante's job is to allow his carries to do damage, either to do damage to the enemy team, to do damage to the Baron, but the problem with this is Summit doesn't truly understand that. When now a big problem is because Summit's not doing his job, Syndra feels very pressured to do her job, but no one is really backing her up. Where Syndra's job, of course, is to stop these people from approaching. If they walk in, they're going to get poked down, they're going to get QE'd, but the problem with Summit not allowing her to do so is now she's just going to get poked down by their outrange comp. She could get Ashe Arrow, she could get J-Shock Blast. It's very hard for her to do her job without the tanks in front of her. Where in this situation, I'm not quite sure what someone's trying to do. It looks like he's trying to engage onto them. Maybe he's trying to tank the Baron. But Lee Sin is able to tank this Baron indefinitely. That's his job in this situation. Fearless's job is, of course, to do damage to the Baron. And Syndra's job is to block them when they try to approach. And that's Summit's job as well, to be honest. But originally, his job would be to block poke. And if they try to engage onto his backline carries, then he's going to be there as well to W and R them off. Where he's going to be essentially a meatball that peels for his team, and these two are going to do all of the heavy lifting, and of course Rel, if they miss position, if they come in, they have to walk through Syndra, they have to walk through Cassante, and they have a Rel getting a flank off with Hex Flash. It's just going to be very hard for them to do their jobs. But because Summit, just one guy who doesn't do his job, which is a huge difference between these Asian teams and the Western teams, is that everyone is very clear on what their role is, and the Chinese and Korean teams mainly, but here it just takes one guy to not know their role to really ruin the whole formation. Because someone didn't know his job, he's trying to engage. Syndra's already poked down to about 600 HP, so now it's very hard, even 500 now, it's very hard for her to play. And now, finally, Summit starts to block their approach, but this whole situation becomes messy, becomes more of a 50-50, and granted, Summit does do well. He blocks the Sejuani from trying to steal, but this whole team fight doesn't end up well, because he has to trade his life for it, which is also something you don't really want to do unless you're behind. Very far behind. You don't want to trade your life for Baron because it just ruins your tempo completely. But here now, it's very easy for them to chase down because Syndra is so low HP. She feels like she can't team fight in this situation, and Cassante is already dead. So it's very easy for them to clean up. He's pretty sure Syndra just gets killed by poke in this whole situation, and now they're just able to very easily clean up this team fight. Where if Cassante was blocking poke this entire time, allowing Syndra to zone them as well, and keep in mind, if the Cassante was blocking poke and allowing Syndra to do her job, she probably would have poked down T1 as well. They would have been a lot lower than they are now, and it would have been a lot harder for them to execute the way they did on this team fight. Up next, I wanted to showcase an example of what it looks like when everyone actually does their job correctly in the team fight. Where here, we have Lee Sin tanking the Baron indefinitely, of course Aphelios hitting it, Syndra trying to zone the enemy, and the big thing Summit's doing differently now is his position between his carries and the poke champs. Jace is going to be here soon, and he's in position to block Ashe poke, he's in position to block Jace poke, and we have CoreJJ on the flank on Rel, where of course if they walk into this river, he can engage onto them, but in this situation, Kyria actually felt pressured to get Baron vision, and he got flanked on, where they got a free pick, where throughout this entire time, with this Baron sequence, the formation is consistent. where we have Josik now, because they turned off the Baron, he's looking to get engaged onto them. He basically took Core JJ's job because Core used all of his spells, which was a good adaptation. And here, this whole time, Summit is blocking poke for his team. He's positioned between Ashe and Jace and his carries. He's parallel to them, he's trying to be. And actually, of course, Zeus, one of the best Jaces in the world, he's able to slip a QE through and hit his backline. But my main point is, the formation was good. He's playing it in a way to allow his team to do damage. He's trying to CC the front line while blocking the poke for his backline, and it looked a lot better than the last situation where the Syndra was essentially unable to play the fight entirely. And even here, you'll notice the biggest difference where his carry's trying to get the Baron down, and all he's doing is blocking poke. He's just standing between them. If they engage, he'll peel them off, but his main job is just to allow his backline to do their job, and he's doing it extremely well here, and you can see it's night and day compared to the last Baron where they got destroyed. Now, for the final fight in the game, unfortunately, they didn't quite learn from their mistakes earlier, and they get hard punished in this team fight. Now, the main reason, in my opinion, is the terrain in which they're fighting, where when you're versus an outrange comp, champions that outrange you, champs like Jace, Xerath, Ashe, of course, it's very hard for you to fight them in the lane. Because with this team comp, they do have Engage, but it's not quite a Jarvan or a Malphite or an Ornn. They have Rel, of course, great Engage, but it's very hard to engage front to back on Rel. You can't just run at them down the lane and get Engage off. Of course, if the team's bad or if they don't have Flash, it is possible, but for the most part, you want to be making them come into an important neutral objective. So the best way Team Liquid should have played the situation is by full controlling this river, making it theirs so it's hard for them to get poked, and then when Baron is spawned, they could look to start it, make them come in, and then engage onto them with a flank with the vision they've already created. Now, the problem with them trying to find the lane, like they're doing here, is I guarantee the reason Summit engaged here is because he's getting poked down. His team is getting poked, he feels, okay, we have to engage onto them, but as we talked about before, that is not his job. He's not playing the Malphite, right? He's not playing the Rel. His job is to block hard and get the poke, for his team, and allow his Syndra and Aphelios to do their job. He's not the main carry of this game, right? His job is to allow his carries to do their job. Where here he tries to engage, he doesn't want to get poked, and as you notice straight away, luckily that J Shock Blast just misses, but the Ashe arrow hits. His backline is already feeling very pressured. Where if Cassante was blocking all of that for them, of course they would be able to do DPS here. Where now Syndra's stunned, they're both already a bit low, and now he's trying to engage. He's trying to do Rel's job for him, where of course Rel, great engage there, but the problem is already the Syndra's been poked down, and now they feel very pressured, they feel very difficult for them to walk up. Where Aphelios makes a huge positioning mistake here. He goes too close to the wall and dies, but as you notice, he did that because he was scared of Jace poke. Where Syndra, her position was a bit better, but she has no one blocking for her. She can't walk up to this fight, she's just going to get destroyed by Jace. Where Aphelios, trying to avoid the poke, gets a bit too close to the wall. And I'm not excusing him, I'm not saying he died here because of Cassante's play. I'm just saying, in general, he felt like he had to avoid the Jace poke. He tried to get between the Jace and the Cassante, using him as a wall, and he got hard punished for it. Where, in my opinion, the two biggest problems in this team fight, the reason why they lost this game, they weren't clear on their team fight conditions, which was, versus a high range comp, it's very hard to engage onto them into the lane, unless you have a really hard engage comp, which, of course, they have Syndra, they have Aphelios. Not like they have Camille Galio or Malphite or anything like this. They need to be using the terrain of the jungle. They need to be making them come into the river. They start a Baron, make them come in, engage onto them with a flank, engage onto them where they can't really see them. It's a lot easier than just running down the lane and trying to get a flash ARAM engage. And now Cassante, the second biggest problem, which was consistent throughout this entire game, is his biggest job was to allow his carriers to do their job, but he didn't realize that. He kept trying to make super plays. He kind of tried to engage on them on the Baron. He tried to engage on them on mid lane, and that made the rest of his team unable to do their job, and in my opinion, it's the biggest reason why they lost this game. Now, if we were to replay this team fight from the perspective of T1, where everyone is doing their job quite well, it's going to look a lot more smooth. Where here we have Jason and Ashe poking from the side, and they're poking from either side, because it's a lot easier to poke someone down from two different angles. We have Sejuani and Renata either baiting spells or trying to create space, where it's very hard for the enemy team to get engaged onto the carries with Sejuani and Renata blocking them, and if they were to get engaged on, they don't care, because that means their team is going to be able to do damage, their backline. And we have Orianna. She's using Herbal to zone out the opponent backline. Very hard for Syndra or for Aphelios to walk through this, and it's essentially impossible for them to do their job right now. It's hard for them to do DPS, even though someone has engaged, because he shouldn't be engaging. He should be blocking the skill shots, of course, but in terms of what T1's doing, we just see Sejuani just playing front to back, CCing the front line, allowing his team to do damage, and then the poke champions poking their backline, making it very hard for them to walk up and participate in this fight. And then when their poking spells are on cooldown, they're just playing front to back, doing DPS, like their backline, their front line, is allowing them to. And even though Faker got engaged on here, it's still easy for the other two champions, the other backline champs, to do their job because of how well the formation of T1 is. And now, of course, the Poke is just not allowed Syndra to play. Aphelios got frustrated that he wasn't doing any damage, and he walked up, he got punished. And in this entire fight, Team Liquid's backline did effectively 0 damage, where T1's backline did so much, not just because of how well they were playing it, but how well the formation of their team was. Okay guys, I'm going to finish there, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see me cover next, whether that be laning phase, macro, anything really. I'll break down exactly why the Western teams are losing, but I do hope to see them upset the Eastern teams at some point in this tournament, where hopefully we have that to look forward to. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time.